This is a in-flight demonstration of Garmin's new Smart Glide system. It's a system that's designed to help the pilot handle an engine-out situation in a single-engine airplane. Or a double-engine airplane if you lost both engines, I guess, with a fuel exhaustion. So what it does is it builds upon Garmin's Autoland system, as well as some of the glide range ring features that were added to the Garmin GTN XI series and the G500, 600 TXI series in the prior software update. To show you what that looks like, if we look here in the GTN, this blue ring around my airplane is a calculated glide range. The other thing that it will do, depending on how you have it set up, is if you're within an airport's glide range, it'll have a kind of like a multi-chevron arrows that point to that airport, letting you know that you could glide there if you need be. So the Smart Glide system takes this feature a little bit further. Prior to that, it was handy to have the glide range, and if I was in an emergency situation, I could always hit direct to nearest airport, and it would show here your nearest airports, and it would also show if they're in glide range. So even without the Smart Glide system, you still have some tools that are going to help you in an engine-out emergency. But with the Smart Glide system, especially coupled with the GFC 500 autopilot, it kind of creates an integrated management system of a engine failure. Currently, it's only available in the GTN XI series, so a GTN 750. And in addition to that, a GI 275 is compatible, and the Garmin G500 TXI or G600 TXI. They're expecting fourth quarter of 2021 to add the G3X and the G5 units to be compatible with the Smart Glide system. And from what I read on the website, the legacy G500, G600 to be compatible sometime in 2022. So there's multiple ways to actually trigger the Smart Glide system. In the GTN, there's a new page, this emergency button. In the G500 TXI, there's an emergency button here. If you hit it, then the next button is Smart Glide, and that will activate Smart Glide. So in an actual emergency, there's a faster way to do it than navigating to other pages here. And it's to hold down the direct to button for 3 seconds. So right now, I don't have any airports in glide distance. And I'll demonstrate what it does if I had an emergency here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my throttle back. And I'm going to activate Smart Glide right now. Holding down direct to. So it's activated Smart Glide.
Active.
It tells me there's no airport in range. My autopilot's activated.
Within glide range.
And it's pitching up to establish my best glide speed of 91 knots. So now this glide range isn't a calculated glide range, it's an actual glide range based on the performance of my aircraft right now. Since I have partial power right now, I've only pulled to like 11 inches. This glide is a much greater glide than what I'd have in an actual engine out scenario because it sees my actual performance since I have some power in already. So essentially, it set me up the best glide, and now it allows me to look and find the best place to land. And a few other things. You can see this glide button here that shows up on the GTN and the G500. If I hit that, it gives me a couple other options. I can hit a button for an alternative airport if one exists. The airport that's selected is what the algorithm is looked at. It takes into account the runway distances, the weather at the airport, certainly the range you are from it, and picks what it feels is the best airport for you. If you don't like that airport, you can choose another airport if you have another one in glide distance. Squawk 7700, I can press that and change my transponder to emergency. You can also see my standby frequency has 121.5. It's automatically tuned that for me. And I can cancel the glide. I can go back to map here. So I have a very shallow 200, 300 foot per minute descent rate at this. You know what? The strange thing now, I have Millville in my range and it hasn't recognized this yet. So I'm going to choose Millville. Why didn't it recognize it? Maybe because it wasn't in my original glide range. I'm going to choose it and see what happens.
Airport, 8 o'clock, 8 miles.
So it gives me an enunciation where it is. It's turning the airplane while maintaining that glide toward Millville Airport. And it's telling me my current AGL. It's giving me my bearing how far the airport is from me. So that's something interesting. I mean, this is me just checking this out for the first time. If something isn't initially in your glide range, if you have a partial power, look to see if one is in there, given your current performance. I'm curious what'll happen if I cancel glide and now activate it again. If it'll
Smart Glide canceled.
If it'll see Millville's in my range now.
Smart Glide active.
No, it doesn't actually.
No airports within glide range.
Okay, so it must use the initial glide characteristics that are set up for the calculated glide rings if I had a real engine out. So I can see right now my glide range is expanding because I do have partial power in right now. And Millville should show up in my glide range again. But it doesn't look like it's smart enough to determine that I indeed have an airport in glide range once that glide range grows to encapsulate that airport. Yeah, now Millville is in that glide range now, and it still tells me no airport in range. So it does show up in this alternate airport. It's the only thing I can choose from. So let me cancel this again.
Smart Glide canceled.
I'm going to add power, climb back up, and let me put Millville in the original glide range. Okay, now I have a situation where Millville is now in my calculated glide range. So I'm going to pull the power back, and I'm going to activate Smart Glide with it in my calculated glide distance. I have the autopilot off.
Active.
Now it's engaged.
Engaging autopilot. Airport, 11 o'clock, 2.5 miles.
So now it's approaching the airport. It's turned me toward Millville, and it's pitching me again for my best glide. So it looks like the airport needs to be in the calculated range ring initially for it to be chosen immediately on a Smart Glide activation.
Maneuver and land.
So now
airport,
I'm over the airport.
12 o'clock, 2 miles.
It's telling me to maneuver and land, so now it's up to me to disengage the autopilot, take control of the aircraft, and land. Now I'm not going to land the plane. I'm going to another destination. That was good. Learned something important there. So in the situation where you have a partial power, you'll want to continually look for other airports that might wind up in your glide ring after the fact. So,
Smart Glide canceled.
That's a quick demonstration of Garmin's Smart Glide system. It certainly works pretty well. And I think it's a welcome automation to take some of the pressure off in a high stress situation where you've just had an engine quit. In the critical moments where you have an engine out and you're thinking, what do I do? You know, that that moment there, the airplane can, by hitting that Smart Glide, take over, establish your best glide, turn you to your airport, allow you time to look out, find the best place to land, and help you manage the emergency. If you already had this equipment, it's simply an update. I had to update the GTN 750 to software version 2.20. I had to upgrade the GI 275 to version 2.40, and the G500 TXI updated to software version 3.30. If you're interested in an install, if you have this equipment already, certainly get it done. Why not? If you want any of this equipment installed, look up shoreflight.com.